Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we are back. And this time we have a new commanders section to go over. So as always, we will be your source for the commanders right off the bat. Let's go over everybody in the Russian Navy commanders tree. First, Anton Guren. Now you can see I've already had Anton Guren. He is a destroyer captain. His stabber skill enhanced the armor-piercing capabilities of your destroyer shells. I currently have Eric Bay and Jerzy Swirsky for the extra detectability, but you can change that as you see fit. We have Quick Fix. Contact is imminent. Torpedo speed. Incoming splash damage is reduced. Then we have Look at Me Now, which is detectability range. We have Flank Speed, which increases the maximum destroyer speed, but reduces or increases the rudder shift time as a penalty. Then we have Back in Stock, which gives you your torpedo tubes back quicker. Glass Cannon gives you more precision of your main guns. Dispersion of the main battery is better, and the maximum hit points is reduced for a penalty. Then we have Piercer, increases the armor penetration of the AP shells. We have Smoke on the Water, which increases smoke screen dispersion time and deployment time. And Sidestep, which is range of destroyer's main gun is increased and incoming fire dispersion is increased. Rudder shift time is increased as a penalty. And then, of course, for the legendary perks, you get Unstoppable and you get Rather Be Torching. Unstoppable means your engine repair time is less, but you also have a reduced mobility when your engine is knocked out. Rather than just being dead in the water, you're able to keep moving. And then Rather Be Torching, obviously, is chance of fire being caused by the destroyer's main gun. And the HE shell damage is reduced as a penalty. So you do less damage per salvo, but you have an increased chance of fire. Personally, that's not really worth it, in my opinion. Now, moving on, we have Vladimir Trubetskoy. His first perk is the Battle Rage Zone, which incoming damage to your destroyer is reduced. So we have another destroyer captain, it looks like. Contact is imminent. Torpedo speed is increased. Now, Russians generally have faster torpedoes to begin with, and they're super short range. So, usually. I haven't actually had a chance to look at the destroyers yet, but generally that's the kind of idea of what you're looking at. Now, Observant Rage. You have reload time of the destroyer's main guns is decreased, torpedo detectability range is increased, and the rudder shift time is increased as a penalty. So you can reload faster, you see torpedoes coming from further away, and your rudder shift is increased as a penalty. Now you have Look at Me Now, which again is the detectability range. You have Mortar, which is main gun AP shell damage is increased and HE shell damage is increased. Detectability of the destroyer goes up by 5% though. That's pretty rough. But again, if you go full gun build on these destroyers, I think you're going to have a good time. You're not going to be able to be sneaky, but you know, do you really need to? That'll be a decision you have to make. Playing with fire. Range of the destroyer's main guns again is increased. Chance of fire being caused by the destroyer's HE shell is increased. However, the destroyer's main gun HE shell's damage is decreased by quite a bit. 30%. That is absolutely ridiculous for a penalty. That's insane. Traverse speed of the destroyer's main gun. And how much do you get? 2%. Range plus 2% to causing fire. Ugh. And you lose 30% of the damage. That's rough. That's rough. Twist and Track obviously is the one where you see the closest ship, the direction of the closest ship. But traverse speed of the destroyer's main guns goes up as well. Then you have reduced the reload time, 1,000 cuts, sorry. 1,000 cuts, reduce the reload time of the destroyer's main guns, and reload time of the secondary batteries is reduced as well. Then we have Smoke on the Water. Smoke screen dispersion and deployment time is increased. Then we have Cloudy Days, which engine boost reload time is cut down, but smokescreen dispersion and smokescreen deployment is reduced. And then we have Unstoppable, which again is the engine repair and the ability to keep moving when your engine is knocked out. And Leviathan, which increases the maximum hit points and maximum reduces the maximum movement speed as a penalty. So this is the gunboat, and this is your standard concealment slash, destroyer. So concealment destroyer or gunboat destroyer. Both have their advantages. Stepan Makarov. We have nights shorter than days, which is damage control party duration is increased. We have Burn It Down XXL, chance of fire being caused by HE shells. Then we have Ingenious, incoming splash damage is reduced. Traverse speed of cruisers' guns increased. So it looks like we're going to have a tanky cruiser captain here, if I had to guess. Piercer, penetration multiplier goes up for your main battery. And that's just AP, by the way. Armor penetration for your penetration multiplier. Penetration multiplier for your armor piercing rounds. Good lord, I can't talk. I apologize. It's like 1:30 in the morning when I'm making this. Now, before it's too late, gives you a torpedo detectability range increase of 3%. Then we have full speed ahead, which increases your maximum cruiser speed and decreases your rudder shift. Both good. Then you have Intuitive, which enables an indicator that shows the direction of the nearest enemy ship. That ship is alerted to the fact a bearing has been taken on their location. Also, increase the duration of all target acquisition consumables. So this is like twist and track. But it also lets the enemy player know that they're being looked at. Or at least their position is being given away, sort of. Sonar duration and surveillance radar duration, both of which are increased. So there's going to be some radar cruisers in the Russian Navy, it looks like. Now we have Velocious, which is maximum movement speed, increased. Then Sponge, we have incoming damage is reduced for cruisers. Armaments hit points is increased, and armaments repair time is decreased. So just tanky overall. Now, equilibrium of power. Armor penetration of HE shells of your cruiser goes up by quite a bit, but the cruiser's main gun HE shells damage goes down. So this is them trying to balance it out. You get more penetration, but you're not going to do as much damage with each shot. So keep that in mind. Steer clear. Rudder shift time is decreased, and steering gear repair time is decreased. And acoustic chamber gives you one extra sonar charge. And of course, if you max this out to 16, that would be 2 charges. Sonar consumable duration and reduce its reload time. So sonar reload time is decreased, duration is increased, and you get 1 extra charge. And then we get fully packed, as with all other cruiser captains, you get this. That gives you an extra consumable. So you get 1 of everything with this. You can potentially get 2 more charges of this. So that would make you have an additional 3. And then I would imagine this goes up when you get to Mastery 4 as well. Or Legendary 4 as well. So you can end up with a lot of consumables. You might not have enough time to use them. And then the other one is By the Book, which damage control party reload time and damage control party duration. Both bonuses. So that's good. Alright, so moving on, we've got Mikhail Kedrov. Mikhail Kedrov. I'm sorry. Vicious Circle, which gives you traverse speed of battleships' guns, is decreased. Or increased, sorry. So battleships' guns traverse faster. So we have a battleship captain, and this looks to be the brawler captain just by looking at the icons. So not the one for nuisance, gives you a risk of catching fire reduction and risk of flooding reduction. Brawler gives you the reload time of the battleship's main guns is reduced, the increased torpedo detectability range, and a range of battleship's main guns is decreased as a penalty. Crisscross, traverse speed of the destroyer's main guns and traverse speed of cruiser and battleship's guns. So, faster traverse on your turrets. Increased secondary battery range with Porcupine, and range of secondary guns goes up. Precision of the secondary battery goes up. The dispersion of the secondary battery is better. So all bonuses to your secondaries. Volunteer. We have damage control party reload time reduction. Damage control charges +1, so you get an extra damage con. And you get a reduction to damage control party duration by 70%. So in other words, most of the time when you pop the damage con, there is a 20 to 30 second period where you cannot be set on fire, you cannot take flooding damage, so you can kind of pop it and then you can get hit multiple times during that 30 seconds and not have to worry about a status effect, a damage over time effect being placed on your ship. This reduces that time by 70%. So let's just say it was 30 seconds before. That would essentially be 70% of 30. God, I'm terrible at math. So let's just make 3,300. Then you've got 70% of 100 would be 70. So that would essentially be tripled. So that would be 210. Oh God, math is hard. And then so 21. So you are reducing that by 21 seconds. Oh my God. That is ridiculous. So if you had a 30-second period where you are now only with a 9-second period of being able to reduce or not take status effect while you popped your damage con. However, the damage control reload is quicker, and you get an extra charge. So is it worth it? I'd say probably, and I will go over why. But maybe not. Let's move on. Firefighter, we have damage control party reload time is decreased. The risk of catching fire specifically is decreased, but the damage control party duration is reduced by 30%. So this is a specific skill for the Russians, I believe. And then this is the normal skill that we get in most of the ships, most of the tech trees. Now, collective labor is another one for the Russians specifically. Damage control party duration is increased, so the opposite of what we've been talking about. But you also get an extra damage control charge. Why would you take this perk? This, I mean, for the reload time reduction, I can understand, but still, 70% penalty is insane. No, you don't want that. So this is what I would take personally. This still gives you the extra charge. Plus you get this down here for repair party. So, wait a second. Hello? Am I missing something here? I just thought of this. Damage control has always been a time reload. I'm going to have to look into this on the PC version. Is there something that changes with damage con on the Russians? Because damage con for everybody else is just every time it reloads, you can pop it. You don't have to worry about charges. So why do we have charges for damage control on the Russian battleships? That's going to be interesting. We're going to have to find out. I was thinking of repair party, but yeah, that's weird. I'm going to have to ask some questions. Next, reaching out XXL. Range of main guns is +1%. And then, of course, you have the Master Mechanic, which gives you the reduced repair party reload time, the increased amount of hit points recovered using the repair party, and you get an extra repair party charge. And then we have Will to Rebuild, which increases the amount of HP recovered by your repair party again. And then on top of that, you have Running with Scissors, which decreases rudder shift time, increases the speed of the battleship's traverse time on the turrets, and then increases the dispersion, therefore a penalty on your dispersion of your main batteries. So, interesting. You guys will have to let me know what you think of this. Like, why is that a thing? I was thinking of the repair party, but no, this clearly says damage control charges. That's interesting. Not sure I like that. Anyway, moving on. We have Nikolai von Essen. His Nooks and Crannies skill gives you a minimal ricochet angle of your ship's shells increase. So your shells will penetrate at greater angles than previously. And then contact is imminent, torpedo speed is increased. The barely out of peril, ramming damage dealt, and ramming damage taken buffs. Burn it down XXL, chance of fire being caused by HE shells is increased. We have Look at Me Now, which is sea detectability range. We have Crisscross, which is traverse speed of destroyers and cruisers and battleships' guns increased. Before It's Too Late, torpedo detectability range is increased. Then we have torpedo launchers reload time is decreased with back in stock. Then we have collective labor, damage control party duration is increased, and damage control charges, you get an extra charge. So again, this is showing that there is a charge for damage con on Russian ships. I'm going to have to jump in these and test them out. I haven't had a chance to test out any of the Russian ships so far. Or at least none of the new ships anyway. Velocious, increase the maximum movement speed. Now, Smoke on the Water, smoke screen dispersion and deployment time increased. Reaching Out XXL, range of the main battery guns. Steer clear, rudder shift time, and steering gear repair time buff. And now we've got Unstoppable, which again, engine repair time and gain reduced mobility while moving. So if your engine is knocked out, you can keep moving. Will to Rebuild, amount of HP recovered. And fully packed consumable charges, you get extra one. So this is kind of your little bit of everything commander, your generic commander, Von Essen is. He has a little bit of skills that can help just about everything. Alright, so moving on, we have Nikolai Kuznetsov. I apologize. Follow the Sun, range of the cruiser's main guns is increased. We have Burn It Down XXL. Chance of fire being caused by HE shells is increased. We have Beyond Range. Range of cruisers' main guns is increased. This is kind of the armor-piercing build that I'm used to on my cruisers. But given the fact that these are only 152mm guns, you're probably not going to be using the armor-piercing capabilities as much on this ship as you are the HE capabilities on this ship. Now we have Before It's Too Late, which increases the torpedo detectability range. Igniter. This is not really a big thing on cruisers because you have the agility to get out of the way. Igniter, you increase the chance of causing fire with your cruiser's HE, whether it be main or secondary battery. So you have Burn It Down and Igniter. But given that this is such a small chance here, I would probably take the Beyond Range because the Russian cruisers have a fantastic range. I believe it's best in class. Like there is no other cruiser out there, and even some battleships that cannot match the range of the cruisers of the Russians. So keep that in mind. You may want to spec into full range and dispersion, but keep your igniter chance. Intuity, again, enables the indicator that shows the direction of the nearest enemy ship, kind of like Twist and Track, but also bonuses your sonar duration and surveillance radar duration. So both sonar and radar get a bonus. So nice. Then we have Velocious, which increases the maximum movement speed. That's not going to be as big a deal for the Russians. Punch Through is your cruiser's main AP shells damage is increased and penetration multiplier is increased. However, I don't believe that's what you're going to want on these things with 152s because you're probably going to be spamming HE the entire time. So that brings us to Equilibrium of Power, which the armor penetration of your HE shells is increased, but the main damage of your HE shells is decreased. So you get a buff to the ability to penetrate, but a reduction in the ability to actually damage. And why I think that that's a fair trade is because when you splash HE on a ship, you do significantly less damage. When you penetrate, you do full damage. So even if you penetrate and you have a reduction of 20% damage, if you're getting more penetrating hits, you're doing more damage than if you were splashing. So I can understand why people would choose this. And again, you're not going to be using AP all that often because you're going to be at fairly significant range behind islands, firing HE over top and just burning everything down. Usually. Steer clear, rudder shift time and steering gear repair time decreased. And then fixated, precision of the cruiser's main guns and dispersion of the main battery is increased and decreased, both buffs. So your dispersion and precision is better. Fully packed gives you an extra consumable charge, or you can choose to reduce the reload time of your main guns. Most of us choose the fully packed. We want that extra consumable because it's better to have them and not need them than it is to not have them and need them. All right, moving on to the final commander, Lev Galler. His flaming arrow increases the battleship's main gun HE shells damage. Not one for nuisance. Risk of catching fire and risk for flooding is reduced. So this is your brawler battleship build, Captain. Flammable cannoneer. Really? Really? Okay, so I say brawler battleship captain, and this is also a marksman battleship captain build. Huh. Okay. So we'd already talked about the one brawler build, but this actually has... Okay, that's damage control. Okay, I thought that was the repair party charge. I was going to say, that would be huge. To get your repair party charge plus have the accuracy build? That's crazy. But yeah, we have flammable cannoneer, which is the range of the... So this is your dispersion build, Captain. I thought I was smart, and turns out I was mistaken. Flammable cannoneer, range of the battleship's main gun is increased, the precision is increased, however, the huge chance of catching fire is increased. Crisscross, traverse speed of destroyers, cruisers, and battleships' main guns. Gyrating drill bits increases the main gun AP shell damage, increases the speed of the battleship's turrets to traverse, and then the maximum battleship speed is reduced. Then we have Volunteer, which damage control party reload time is reduced, damage control charges is increased by 1, and then you have that huge damage control party duration reduction. Now, the only thing I can think about the reduction, now that I think of it, is, think of it this way. If your reload of, or if your cooldown for your damage con is 1.5 minutes, okay? If your cooldown is 1.5 minutes, you knock that down by 2%, so it's 1:20. We'll just say 1:20, even though it's probably 1:25 or something like that. It's not that big of a buff. But say it's 1:25. You reduce the duration that it takes for the damage con to start going into the cooldown. So that means that you'll have your damage con back faster. So maybe that's the idea behind the 70%, penalty on the damage control party duration. So instead of having a 30-second, essentially immunity to status effects, you take that down to 9 seconds, but your cooldown starts much faster, so you get your damage con back faster in the end. So maybe that's a thing that we might need to look into. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Moving on, marksmanship. The dispersion of the main battery is decreased, but the rudder shift time is increased. Then collective labor, damage control party duration is increased, and damage control charges is increased by 1. Reaching out XXL, the range of your main guns is increased. And then, of course, emergency specialist, which is damage control reload time decreased. Damage control party duration is decreased by 30%. Again, meaning that you would get your damage control back faster with a 5% reduction in... So, with both of these perks, that is a 100% damage control party duration reduction. So if you put both of these on, you pop your damage con. Yes, it puts out the fires and stuff, but there is no immunity section, and you immediately start the cooldown, which would be I mean, once you get all the bonuses and stuff, it would be significantly reduced anyway. So what you have is essentially a battleship that's immune to flooding and fire. I could see that. I could see that being a thing. We're gonna have to test this stuff out when the battleships actually show up. So let me know if you're interested in this sort of thing. I like to break down the skills and try to figure out ways in my head of how to utilize each skill, even though I'm not the smartest guy in the world. Will to rebuild, amount of HP recovered, and Farsight, torpedo detectability range is increased, but you lose a repair party charged. That is never worth it in my opinion. I always go with the HP recovered. So I appreciate you guys. Sorry for that it's been such a long video, but I like to talk about things while we are doing this. I like to go over all of the perks for all of the new commanders to get you guys the best video that I can, and then discuss some of the more interesting perks that maybe I'm looking forward to testing out. But if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.